As promised, I'm doing a series where I propose rapid transit lines for Indianapolis. No types of rapid transit are off limits, not even light rail, despite the ban on government funding for light rail. But the line I will propose in this video is not light rail, but rather regional rail. And the southern terminus of the regional rail service would be in Columbus, Indiana, about 40 miles south of Indianapolis. Columbus is a city of about 50,000 people and has been steadily growing. Amtrak's plan for expanded service, called Amtrak Connects Us, has Columbus as the first stop south of Indianapolis on one of their proposed routes. And because of that, as well as because of the size of the city, Columbus makes sense as a terminus for a regional rail service. A Columbus terminus means that anyone on this Amtrak corridor, once built, can transfer at Columbus if they're heading to a destination between Columbus and downtown Indianapolis. The second stop would be in Edinburgh, not to be confused with the major Scottish city. Though, story has it that the town's founder was a native of Scotland, which may or may not have inspired the town's name. Anywho, Edinburgh has about 4,400 people. Despite the modest population, the proposed station's location near the downtown of Edinburgh would be convenient. The next stop would be in Franklin. It is a city of about 25,000 people, and is about 20 miles south of Indianapolis. Like with the previous stop, the station location would be right by the downtown area, which is very convenient. The following stop would be in Whiteland. It is a town of about 4,600 people. Whiteland doesn't seem to have a defined downtown, but there is a lot of housing for the town clustered near the proposed rail station. I'd then have a stop in Greenwood, a rapidly growing city of about 64,000 people. Unfortunately, that proposed rail stop is not really close to the downtown, just by nature of where current rail tracks are. So, this station would have to be coupled with either a new bus line or the extension of an existing bus line that goes to a Greenwood rail station. The next stop would be at County Line Road. The development around this station isn't impressive per se, but the stop has a purpose. That purpose is to serve as a connector to nearby buses. The stop is near a southern terminus for two Indigo bus routes, and over by where one of the Greenwood Park connector lines already goes. The two Indigo routes would need to be extended to the rail station. But, once that happens, this rail station would connect you to buses that provide a short ride to nearby important destinations on the south side of the city, such as Community Hospital South and Greenwood Park Mall. The following stop would be at the University of Indianapolis. This would serve the university, obviously, but it would also be a key transfer point with the Red Line bus rapid transit, which is really, really important, because this is really the only place where I'd be able to connect this proposed line with the Red Line directly and easily. The line then makes its way towards downtown Indianapolis, and has a stop at the Lilly Corporate Center. It may seem weird to have a stop near a corporate center for a specific company. That said, Eli Lilly single-handedly employs over 13,000 people in Indianapolis. Given how large of an employer they are, it seems like a bit of a hole in the transit map that there aren't even any 15-minute frequency bus routes serving Lilly headquarters, let alone rapid transit. This route would somewhat rectify that hole by providing rapid transit. The train route then starts heading to the west, and soon after the westward turn, the train would stop at Indianapolis Union Station. This would, without a doubt, be the highest ridership stop on this line. Located in downtown Indianapolis, this stop would also provide access to a variety of major event venues, such as the Indiana Convention Center, the stadium for the Indianapolis Colts, and the arena for the NBA Indiana Pacers and WNBA Caitlin Clark Fever. Um, I guess I should say the Indiana Fever. The train would then run to the Indianapolis International Airport, which would be the other terminus of this line. As to how we'd get there, we'd use existing rail trackage, or at least trackage parallel to the existing trackage, to an area just east of Holt Road, and then maybe elevated trackage along Interstate 70 for most of the rest of the way to the airport. This is the segment that would be most challenging to make possible, for reasons I'll try and remember to get to later in this video. But it's also an important segment, for over 11,000 people work at the airport, and tens of thousands of jobs statewide have a connection to the airport. And that's before you even get to the fact that airports are captive audiences for public transit, due to people flying into them from another city not necessarily having cars with them. It's a captive audience of millions of people, thus making ridership potential immense for a train stop at even a mid-sized airport like Indy's. And that is my first proposed line for Indianapolis. The line consists of 10 stops. Part of what makes most of this proposed line relatively attainable is that there is rail trackage already in place, for the most part. And that is honestly a big part of why I wanted to propose this line first, because I wanted to show that there are relatively attainable rail-based solutions for improving transit in the Indianapolis area. What makes something like this even more attainable is that this would be regional rail, which does not have a ban on public funding in the state of Indiana. And it's not likely to have a ban on funding anytime soon, because the existence of the South Shoreline in the northern part of the state would make such a move unpopular, not just in the Indianapolis area, but in places like South Bend and Gary as well. That said, there are 3 factors that could make this route tricky to implement. The first one is that the overwhelming majority of the route would be on or right next to trackage owned by the Louisville and Indiana Railroad, a freight rail company. We are therefore a little bit at the mercy of how willing this freight company would be to cooperate with an entity forming a passenger rail line on or right next to its trackage. The second factor is that it would be tricky to make possible that section between downtown Indy and the airport. And that is because there is a section where entirely new trackage would need to be built. I propose the section to be along the median of Interstate 70. Doing that will involve construction. Construction that might be disruptive to I-70 in that area. And, given how car-brained leadership in the state of Indiana seems to be, I'm not exactly optimistic that they go with the building of rail in the middle of Interstate 70, as much as that would be the dream in some ways. A possible compromise solution would be to have the train stop at Holt Road, and have a station for the planned Blue Line bus rapid transit where the trackage intersects the bus line at Holt Road. With this compromise solution, the Blue Line would take transit users along the rest of the way to the airport. That wouldn't thrill me, but that may be the best we can do if this proposal ever came to pass in some form. Still, part of the purpose of my channel is to dream of the best transit lines, so I'm going to be uncompromising in what I dream. The third thing that could make this line tricky is that I'm getting a vibe that there isn't the best of cooperation between the different counties in the Indianapolis area. Though, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments section below. I feel it important to make note of this issue because this is a line that would require the cooperation of three counties: Marion, Johnson, and Bartholomew. Okay, so I've spent plenty of time talking about how achievable this line is, without actually talking about how useful I think it would be. And I think it would be plenty useful, despite it being only 10 stops. One of several transit holes in the Indianapolis area is the lack of fast, frequent, reliable transit south of the University of Indianapolis. And the route would at least likely be fast and reliable. And the fact that this route would serve places like Columbus, Franklin, and Greenwood would be huge. They are decent sized places in their own right. And connecting Indianapolis proper to these places, not to mention the airport, would be massive from a regional connectivity standpoint. This means that someone from Franklin can more easily get to Colts games, that someone from Columbus can get to the airport, and that someone from the airport would have a fast and easy ride to a major convention at the convention center. I must also emphasize, though, that there are a couple of stops where the building of a station would need to be accompanied by transit improvements that extend bus routes to their respective stops. But honestly, if we're able to pull the lift of getting three counties to coordinate with each other to pull off a rail service, getting small bus line extensions seems like a comparatively small lift. But what do you think of the rail service I proposed in this video? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to also leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content on imagining better mass transit in the United States. Thank you, and have a good day.